It's time for another episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead. Season 3, Episode 2 is titled Booth 3, and the big set piece in this one might be up there as one of my favorites of the series, but before we get there, the episode kicks off with an especially bloody and wonderfully disturbing birthing scene. Ruby's new baby is essentially a demon baby, and even though she gave birth to it chestburster style, she's still alive, and she tells her new kid, "You may be born from the image of that idiot Ash, but you'll be nothing like him." A+ makeup effects and demon baby design here. I just loved it. Meanwhile, back at home, Brandy's a little uneasy, and Ash trying to play the cool dad isn't really helping at all. There's also some tension between Pablo and Kelly as well. Apparently, Kelly just took off at a point, and ditching her family doesn't really feel like it's in character to me, but I'll buy the reasoning of her needing to stay in the fight. What's very in character for Pablo, however, is some jealousy when it comes to Kelly's new buddy Dalton. He attempts to convince Pablo that his work and his family legacy is legit by explaining that all forms of evil are rooted back to the master demons, the dark ones, of course. Dalton digs a little deeper into this with a nice assist from some animation, explaining that the most ruthless Dark One once betrayed the others and cast them from our world. Dalton's ancestors managed to steal the source of their power, the Necronomicon, but the legend tells that one of them, a sorceress named Kaya, was seduced by the power of the book, and she tried to use it, but her soul was taken and is now bound inside the book. So a whole lot of exposition right there, but it does raise some interesting questions, and it's also conveyed in a pretty visually stimulating and well-paced way. Next up, we get some curious developments for Pablo. He's got the writing all over his body again, and then he has some sort of vision of a masked person who warns him that he is in grave danger, but also that Brujo's magic can save him. So that's good, but Dalton is still super concerned that Pablo is touched by evil, and according to Dalton's legends, that means that sooner or later, Pablo will go demon. Elsewhere, after some more failed father-daughter bonding time for Ash and Brandy, we get another very interesting reveal. It turns out that Brandy's guidance counselor, Miss Previtt, is actually Ruby. She did seem genuinely surprised when Brandy mentions that Ash is her father, so I was wondering, did Ruby just plant herself there to vet every single student to see if they're Ash's child? With all her abilities, you would just think there'd be an easier way of doing something like that, but I guess that is the case because later in the scene, it's very clearly explained that Ruby's mission is to ensure there are no progeny of Ash Williams. He's the chosen one, so I'm guessing that can transfer over to anyone in his bloodline, and that's why Ruby wants to get rid of all of them, if any more exist. And funny thing is, Ash is kind of concerned about the same thing in a way, because he's off to the cryo bank, because now he's freaked that there's other kids of his running around out there, and he wants to talk to one of the employees there into revealing if anyone's bought what he has offered up at the lab. And you know what? While she's looking that info up, why not donate some more? Because that's a smart thing to do. Trouble is, Ruby's incantation winds up turning the facility employees into deadites, and that's when we get a brilliant sequence of hilarious deadite humor and violence, which includes Ash fighting a porn magazine, a sperm shootout, and an epic head smash, and so much more on top of that, and it's all set to the tune of Take On Me. Every second of this thing looks fantastic, it's all so creative, and it's just incredibly well choreographed too. But now to wrap this up, the big takeaway of the episode, I guess you could say, is that evil is after Ash's offspring, and that drives Ash to make protecting Brandy top priority. And he's gonna have his hands very full doing that because Ruby's new baby is born out of the Book of the Dead. That makes it destined to be the next prophesized one, but only when the current prophesized one is dead and has no offspring to pass it on to. It's a strong setup for the new season, and it puts Brandy in a great position to both feel like an important new addition to the series, but also hopefully step up, protect herself a little, and maybe even embrace some of her father's qualities as well, but probably the more noble ones there. They do address this in the episode, but it was a little noticeably strange to me that Brandy wasn't more devastated by losing her mother, but given the length and the consistent pace of the show, it is probably for the better. I'm also not too worried about Pablo at this point. We went through the whole dying thing with him last season, and the fact that he got the message that Brujo's magic can save him, I am hopeful we'll see that happen at some point this new season, and I'm also kind of hoping that Pablo needs Dalton's help to get there. Even though we haven't seen how they met, I am buying the chemistry between Dalton and Kelly, which I read as a genuine friend-team relationship, nothing more. But I want to know a little more about what they've been going through, how they met, and then I also want Pablo to be included in that group when they get into the fight. I'm liking Ruby's agenda so far this season. It is pretty straightforward, and I'm very into it. And now, of course, I'm wondering how things escalate from here. How quick will that baby grow? What will it look like? What abilities will it have? And given the fact that this is Ash versus Evil Dead, and Ruby says in the trailer that there's a supernatural war, and we also see a good deal of what that entails in that trailer too, how quickly will we see all that craziness? And by the way, I am never worried about this show spoiling anything in a trailer, because just when you think Ash versus Evil Dead can't get any gorier and weirder, we get something like a deadite fight in a sperm bank. My head is just spinning in circles in the best possible way, and I really cannot wait for episode 3 next week. So there you guys go. Those are my thoughts on episode 2, Booth 3. As always, hit that comment section below. Share your thoughts and predictions right there. I really would love to read them. And before I wrap this video up, I've got to give another Patreon shout out for 2 people, one Patreon veteran and one new member, Kavi and Ryan. You've probably heard me say Kavi's name before because he's been on board for a while now, and he's also someone I've really enjoyed getting to know through our chat sessions. And then there's also Ryan, who just joined up this month. So Ryan, I am so glad to have you, and I'm really looking forward to our chat session soon. Thanks to everybody out there watching this video right now. Keep an eye out for my Ash vs. Evil Dead Episode 3 review next weekend.